was distracted from giving full attention to the threat environment prior to January 6th by several other any real information to help the public understand what happened that day. As if you read this report, they knew what was coming. They knew how undermanned they were. They knew how understaffed they were. They knew that the Capitol Police didn't have equipment nearly enough to deal with what they thought was coming. They knew all this. More importantly, she knew all this. Specifically answering the important question of why the Capitol was left so unprepared. Executive summary. There are several reasons the Capitol was left unprepared on January 6, 2021, including internal politics and unnecessary bureaucracy. Also, guess who? Prior to that day, the U.S. Capitol Police had obtained sufficient information from an array of channels to anticipate and prepare for the violence that occurred. However, officers on the front lines and analysts in the Capitol Police's intelligence division were undermined by the misplaced priorities of their leadership. Those problems were exacerbated by the House Sergeant at Arms, who was distracted from giving full attention to the threat environment prior to January 6th by several other upcoming events. The then House Sergeant at Arms, Paul Irving, who served on the Capitol Police Board by virtue of his position, succumbed to political pressure from the office of Speaker Pelosi and House Democrat leadership leading up to January 6th. He coordinated closely with the Speaker and her staff and left Republicans out of important discussions related to security. As a critical member of the Capitol Police Board, the House Sergeant at Arms had an obligation to all members, staff, and Capitol Police officers to keep them safe by consulting stakeholders without partisan preference. See, that's hard to do when you're dealing with Pelosi, because there's nothing that's not politics with her. So it's almost impossible to do that. But rather than coordinate in a meaningful way, Paul Irving only provided information to Republicans after receiving instruction from the Speaker's office. In one case, Irving even asked a senior Democrat staffer to act surprised when he sent key information about plans for the joint session on January 6th to him and his Republican counterpart. The senior Democrat staffer replied, "I'm startled." Just think about that. Hey, act surprised even though you already know. Don't give it away. Key findings, and I've highlighted the ones that deal with Pelosi. The Speaker of the House and Democrat leadership were closely involved in security decisions in the lead up to and on January 6th. The House Sergeant at Arms took direction from the staff in the office of the Speaker of the House and intentionally excluded Republicans from key meetings and conversations related to House security. Staff within the House Sergeant of Arms office emailed Paul Irving that January 6th was Pelosi's fault. Let me read that one again. Staff within the House Sergeant at Arms office emailed Paul Irving, who was the House Sergeant at Arms, to keep everybody who they are straight here, that January 6th was Pelosi's fault. Widespread concern from Democrat leadership over optics in the aftermath of Summer 22 Black Lives Matter protests prevented early deployment of the National Guard. The House Sergeant at Arms was compromised by politics in the lead up to and on January 6th and did not adequately prepare the Capitol for possible violence. All right, page 24 of the report. The U.S. House Sergeant at Arms was compromised by politics and did not adequately prepare for violence at the Capitol. On February 9th, 2022, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi said, quote, "I have no power over the Capitol Police." That's the clip I just played you. This is false. Documents provided by the House Sergeant at Arms show how then House Sergeant at Arms Paul Irving carried out his duties in clear deference to the Speaker, her staff, and other Democrat staff. The Speaker's statement created uncertainty and confusion with respect to the historical reporting structure for the HSAA and the Capitol Police. House rules dictate in several circumstances that the Sergeant at Arms is to report directly to the Speaker of the House, including when the House is in session 4, the Sergeant at Arms is to, quote, maintain order under the direction of the Speaker and other presiding officers, and execute the commands of the House and all processes issued by authority thereof, directed to the Sergeant at Arms